All right, happy Saturday morning. Kitty, thanks for coming on. It is another episode of Galactic Gossip, and of course, we're going to be talking all things Mandalorian Chapter 11, and that was titled The Harris, or the how do you? It's pronounced Harris, right?
Harris.
Harris, like Harris.
No, Eris. You don't pronounce the H.
Hairless.
Yes.
We're talking about Baby Yoda, and he is hairless.
Yes.
Okay. So right off the bat, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, which I didn't know. Honestly, I don't know who directed. The only one I did know that was directing before I watched the episode was the first one. We all knew Jon Favreau was directing Chapter 9. But I found out after I watched the show that it was directed by Bryce. And I was actually amazed. I really was. Because again, and I told you this when we were talking on Facebook yesterday, that although I didn't hate her episode from last season, I enjoyed it. You reminded me that I believe that was the episode that we meet Kara.
Yeah.
So, in that regards, it's not a bad episode. It wasn't my favorite last season. But again, still a good episode. I don't hate any episode from last season. But I got to say, this episode blew my mind. It really did. Coming into this, I thought Chapter 9 was probably one of the best episodes of either season. I still like last year's finale, and I still like a couple of the Deborah Chow, episodes. But I have to say this one, and I told you this also. I'm not really big on the animated series. I did watch a good amount of Rebels. I haven't really watched any of Clone Wars. I know some of the lore. I know some of the history behind the animated shows, but I don't know everything. So I can only imagine for the people that have watched faithfully these series, Rebels and Clone Wars, to see these characters like Bo-Katan and her story be presented live action had to have been just an amazing reveal.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people waiting for it, and as they're waiting for Ahsoka, I get it, and Ahsoka is a newly created character by Dave Filoni, and she was teased by name in this episode at the end. And I don't think, and I told you this, and a lot of people on other YouTube channels agree, she's more than likely going to be on the following episode after next episode, because that's what the directed by Dave Filoni one. And since that's his baby, it just makes the most sense that that's probably when we're going to see Ahsoka for the first time. She might get mentioned again in next week's episode. She might even catch a glimpse of her, but as far as like maybe speaking roles or action sequences or just her in general, I think we're probably going to see in the Dave Filoni directed episode, whichever one that's going to be named.
Yeah, when they said her name, I was like, Rosario Dawson, yes.
Yeah, so we're finally going to see her in live action. We're finally going to get to see what she looks like eventually. But so let's go over the Harris or the heiress. I'm sorry, the heiress. Because that makes sense, I guess, when you're talking about somebody who's heir to something.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know why I would mispronounce heiress if it's literally heir with S. But as I said, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, literally, again, leaves off directly after the last episode left off. Starts up right when the other episode left off, which is good. So these episodes are a lot more linear. Even though he's still doing the side missions to get to do whatever, but I didn't mind that in this one either. I didn't. I thought it had really good action. I thought that it was a really nice comical element when he's nosediving, and then he propels the jets just in time, and you think I knew what was going to happen. I was like, all right, he's going to crash, and then you think he's going to have a nice, soft, safe landing, and then I put, all you Star Wars people will know this reference, especially Obi-Wan fans, another happy landing, and he crashes and falls into the water, which I thought was funny. And then you got the Mon Calamarian guy just looking and just shaking his head as he crashes. But that was cool to see those characters. But so what did you think of this episode?
Oh, I love this episode. I think, apart from Chapter 9, it was probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
And when knowing that Bryce Howard Dallas, directed it, following her daddy. I was like, it's great. She's a great director. Like, that was a great episode.
Yeah.
And I like that they, you know, they brought Bo-Katan into it. I mean, she's not, you know, known to be one of the better characters, or, you know, a good character, you know, for evil versus good. But I like that they brought her in, and it kind of makes, you know, the Mandalorian like think within himself, going, what's going on with who I am, you know? And I like that aspect of it. So it's good. Yeah, it's
gonna make him question big time, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you had that same instance that he had with when he met Cobb Vanth. You know, he's like, where did you get that armor? The minute, and you knew that was coming. The minute they took their helmets off, he's like, all right, where'd you get the armor? You're not Mandalorian. You're not Mandalorians. And then she's like, this has been in my generation. This has been in my family for 3 generations. Like, I am, you know, and looking up the character history of Bo-Katan, which I had to do. You know, I'm being forthcoming. I really don't know much about the Night Owls, the group that she belongs to. It's an all-female Mandalorian outfit. I didn't know anything about the Death Watch, which the Mando himself is supposedly a part of, and their ways. You know, they're religious zealots, they're purists, they believe in the ancient way, and they believe their way is the only way. And that's when she even mocks him and kind of said, well, I don't know if she mocks him when she says this is the way, but she knew that he would kind of conform to that when she said whatever. But, you know, I had to look all that stuff up. You know, I knew somewhat about the Darksaber, and the reason why I knew about the Darksaber was from last year's finale with, you know, Moff Gideon and that, where he cuts through the TIE fighter and he escapes the TIE fighter wreckage, and you see him holding the Darksaber. So obviously I had to look up that, which I knew little bits and pieces about it before I looked it up. But, you know, that's been in her family, that's been in the Mandalorian family. And the history behind the Darksaber is that whoever holds that saber is the ruler of Mandalore. And that's why she wants it, because she feels, and that's why the title of the episode was The Heiress, because she is the heiress to Mandalore.
I kind of like the little nods too, because she is the voice of Bo-Katan in Clone Wars, and it was like a nice little nod too, because she's also in Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, all that sci-fi element that they tied into it, so they kept it going. Do. So it was really cool. I liked all of that. I like all that tie-in.
I remember when there was a lot of speculation and there was rumors about who was going to be in it, which characters were going to be in it, you know, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and other things like that. And it raised an actual good question. Like, do you get an actress to play this character, or do you get the voice actor who's done it for years from Rebels to Clone Wars? And it made the most sense to do so.
Absolutely.
That's, when you're dealing with voice actors, I get it. You know, you're not really seeing their face. You're just seeing an animated rendition of them. But I think it's important as fans to be able to identify with that voice.
Yeah.
Because the only other thing you could do is then get an impressionist. And then all you're doing is getting an impressionist to make it to sound like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like even in Clone Wars, when you have the fights with Vader, I'm almost positive they're not using James Earl Jones, that they're using a character that sounds like James Earl Jones. And you know, it doesn't really bother me as much, but you could tell a difference.
Yeah.
So I feel like getting Sackhoff. What's her first name? Is it Jess?
It's Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff. Okay. I felt like getting Katie Sackhoff to play this role live action made the most sense.
Yeah.
Really. And another reference to Obi-Wan. I don't know if you meant to do that, but another reference. Hello there. But yes, love these streams too much. Please do more Star Wars content. I am trying. And Kitty can vouch for me. Let me tell you something. And I've said this to you on Instagram. I told I mean, I know him as a different name. I don't know if he wants me to say it on air, but I told him on Instagram, I said, look, I've been wanting to do Star Wars content. You know, the Mandalorian, now that the new season's out, it gives me the opportunity to talk about this as an isolated content, but I would love to do more, you know, other Star Wars. I mean, that was what I created Galactic Gossip for way back in, I believe, I think I thought of it back in March. You know, I just haven't really been able to do it. In fact, my last episode of the Galactic Gossip before we started doing the Mandalorian stuff was May 4th. So it's been a while, but yes, I I promise. I really do want to get more content out. But so I think going back to what I'm saying, I think getting Katie was the better choice. I'm now that she was brought onto the show, Bo-Katan was brought onto the show. I'm actually really, what's the word? I'm anticipating what they're going to do with the character of Sabine Wren. You know, the purple hair Mandalorian girl from Clone Wars and I think Rebels as well. She's the one that she's the one that actually got the Darksaber and gave it back to Bo-Katan, and that was the last time we saw it in the animated series. We saw it in Bo-Katan's hand, and then it went from there to a huge time gap to which we don't know. And I'm assuming this series, the live action, is going to fill us in, because the next time we see it after that is in Moff Gideon's hands in the season finale. So, yeah, I agree. I think her armor looks sick. The owl, because again, like I said, she's part of the Night Owls. The owls that are painted onto hers. Obviously, the guy, his name is Axe Wolves. He's with them, but he's not part of the Night Owls. He's not a female. But I thought the armor looked sick. They looked really good. I love that color blue.
If I read something, I think their armor was a nod to something and somebody in the show. I can't even remember. It was like a pet or an animal.
An owl.
I know it was an owl, but they also did a reference to.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
I know what I was reading. I know it's an owl because it's their symbol, but there was some type of pet. If I was reading correctly, I have to go back and read that.
Yeah, please do, because I'm actually now I'm curious now.
Yeah.
But I really think this sets up something big. And I don't know if it's actually going to pay off in this season, in this season's finale. But obviously they're setting something big up, with the fact that this ship had all those weapons. They're going to Mandalore. I think Moff Gideon's intent, especially now that he has the Darksaber, his intent is to conquer Mandalore and and rule that. And I think there's going to be a huge battle. And obviously, I think the Mandalorian himself, I think Mando is probably going to take part in that. I think this is going to be the perfect opportunity for Pedro Pascal to be able to be helmetless.
I know.
And I'm not saying that that's why they wrote it in. They didn't, because that's how they are. That they don't have their helmets on in the animated series either. Mm-hmm. So they literally don't believe in that way, because like I said, the Death Watch are considered to be like zealots and extremists and elitists, and they don't want to take up the helmets, and they're stuck to their old ways. So I'm not saying that that's why that was on the show, but I think it's a perfect opportunity for Pedro at one point to be helmetless, like he wants to be.
Right. Yeah.
My only concern is how they make Ahsoka look in live action. But I think and I think so too. And I think that's why I had said before you came on, I think Starspeed, that's his name. He said it was okay to say it. Starspeed, I'm pretty sure they're going to hold off until Dave Filoni, his episode to reveal her. And I think because he's in charge, I think she's going to look fine. I really do. A lot of people have that worry of how she's going to translate onto the big screen or onto live screen, but I think it's going to be fine. I really do. And I'm sure Rosario Dawson's going to nail it.
Oh, yeah. She's got it.
And then we finally get to see what, the mystery has been solved. We finally get to figure out, we finally got to know who Sasha Banks' character is. A lot of people thought she was going to be Sabine. There was a few other names, brought up, but we finally figure out, or we're finally told that she plays a character called Casca Reeves, and she's part of the Night Owls. She's a Mandalorian. So,
yeah, it was a nice little trippy effect that they did where we thought she was a Jedi.
Yeah, and that came from the trailers. Like, she looked like a mysterious character. Yeah. They said I think one of the rumors is that she was going to be part of like this witch cult. I don't really know the name or the lore behind that. But, she was standing in the shadows. She was in a cloak. It didn't necessarily have to be a Jedi, but there was definitely something where, again,
mysterious, yeah.
But she was just watching him, and whatever. And then, obviously, they found him twice. They saved his ass twice.
Yeah.
So, those scenes were really kick-ass, especially...
that whole Baby Yoda scene where he was saving... that was just... too much.
And again, I can't I can't stress enough my worry about where they're going, where the ultimate end game is for the child's arc. Like, because let's be honest, if he was to give it to the Jedi, to where he belongs, then what does that do? It takes him off the show? Let's be honest. Look, before we were introduced to the character of the child, we thought we were getting a Mandalorian show, which we did. It was a pleasant and a great surprise that we got the child. But now all we want is the child. So unless his arc doesn't get fulfilled until the very final episode of the series, until you're done with the series in general, I just don't see where you go with this.
I don't think that that's all we want as a child. I think we like the bond between the child and the Mandalorian. I think if you don't have one or the other, it's still not going to be a good show. You got to have both of them together.
That's my point. So what I'm saying is, if he gives the child up, which you clearly is not going to be able to do.
Yeah.
And I told you too, I'm not ashamed to say, I teared up in that scene. It wasn't the scene where I knew he was going to get saved. I'm not saying the scene where he gets pushed into the pit, into that huge creature's mouth. I was talking about not only the visible fear that Mando had for the child, rescue the child, go get him, but like when, was it Bo-Katan that went and got him, or was it the other one? She was the one that got him, right?
She was the one that got him, yes.
When she rescues him, pulls the thing off, takes him out of the shell, and then hands it to him, like you can see him like kind of almost like trembling, like, give him to me, and like he was holding him. That's what made me tear up, because you can see right there that bond, I don't see how he's going to be able to give him away. Yeah. So that's my point. Like I'm not saying that this show can't work with either or, but they need both.
Yeah.
You really do need both. Yeah, I'm not saying I need a show just on the child himself. I want the Mandalorian there, but I can't just have the Mandalorian. I want the child there as well. So that is my only question, is how they're going to, what are they doing with his story? What are they doing with his arc? And, maybe we'll find out more in the Ahsoka episode. Oh. As a Jedi, she's going to know, I'm sure she's going to know what he is, because she knows of Yoda.
Yeah.
So this is something that I hope we get answered. But what else? So Mando is from the sect of the Death Watch. What I put, Darksaber once united Mandalore. So the origins of the Darksaber came from a character called Tar Vizsla. And he was the only Force sensitive. He was the only Jedi Mandalorian. And, he's the one that created the Darksaber. He actually had an alliance with Darth Maul, which is a character from not only the animated series, but he was also a character from the prequels. Died in the very first one, in episode 1, which we thought he died back in 1999, but he ended up not being dead. But, he tried to turn on Darth Maul once he got what he wanted, which was Mandalore, and Darth Maul killed him in a battle. And Darth Maul actually had the Darksaber at one point, and also held rule to Mandalore for a good amount of time. It wasn't until Darth Sidious, which is, we all know him as Palpatine, actually bested him, threw him in jail, and the Darksaber was lost or in some type of spot. I honestly don't know where it went from there. It's a little iffy. I think it was at the Jedi Temple. I forgot where it was, but then Sabine Wren found it, and like I said, gave it into the rightful hands of Bo-Katan. So that's a little backstory of that, which I had to look up because I really didn't know about.
So I got the down low on Bo-Katan's helmet.
Okay, tell me.
So Bo-Katan's helmet design is meant to invoke a barn owl, right? We know that.
Okay.
And her name comes from the Mandalorian's executive producer Dave Filoni's cat, Boogie, to which inherited Cat and his wife's name, and that's where I got it from. So
gotcha.
That's that whole thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So I was like, there's something with the writer's animal that was in there that I remembered reading. So I thought that was like a cool thing.
I think, yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So I think from here on out, I think they can do a couple of things. I think, obviously, as I said, I think the Ahsoka episode, which I believe is not going to happen until the one after next week, to which Dave Filoni's directing.
Yeah, because we usually get a filler episode after a really good episode.
I think next episode is probably going to be a filler. I still do not think Chapter 10 was a filler. I still liked Chapter 10 for what it was.
I thought it was great.
It was just the fact that it was literally after Chapter 9, and Chapter 9 had so much action. It was so good and an hour long. Then you get Chapter 10, which is a little shorter. And I think not last week. I think yesterday's episode was one of the shortest.
40 minutes long, maybe?
Yeah, Chapter 10 was 40 minutes long. Yesterday's episode was like 30.
Wasn't it? I was like pausing. I thought it was like 40 minutes long too.
No, so yesterday's episode was 35 minutes, but with 4 minutes and change of credits.
That's right. That's what it was. Because when I cut to the end, I was like, "Why is there that big wide gap?"
Yeah, and I thought to myself, and what was curious about that, I was like, "Wait a minute, are we getting an after credits teaser?" So I'm like stupidly, not stupidly. I was like, "Oh, maybe there's something after." There's nothing after. It was just 5 minutes worth of credits, but the actual episode was pretty quick. I think they could do a lot of things. They can do maybe a flashback or a mention to Darth Maul, since we're talking about the Darksaber, and they need to fill in some gaps. A lot can happen, and as I said, I really think it's going to ultimately lead to a huge battle. I do. So we'll see. Good things from there. But I really did. I was and again, I can only imagine what people who are actual religious fans of the animated series, and to see that big payoff, yeah. I was shocked. I really was shocked. And to happen in only the third episode, I mean, I know there's only 8 episodes of the full season, but to have that much action in 1 and 3 with slightly, I'm not saying again, I don't think Chapter 10 was a filler, and I don't think it didn't have any action, because it did, but obviously Chapter 9 and Chapter 11 had the most action. But that scene with the stormtroopers and everything, oh, I loved it. Anything involving stormtroopers, I love.
But you kind of needed Chapter 10 too, because that was like the segue to get him to Chapter 11, like the fog lady and all of that. You needed that segue. That was a much needed episode. So when people call it filler, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the whole when the little baby had shit at the end, and baby. I
was just about to say that. Like, we don't. He's like, we don't need another pet.
We don't need another pet.
But what about when he leaves the child with them? Went to go do the thing, to go do the mission. He leaves the child. He's like, be respectful. You know what I mean. Don't eat those fucking things. Yeah, Welcome back. We finally get to see the husband. That was a nice little, reunion. That's when he was on Trask, and that's when he goes, and it's like, and I knew, and I think everybody picked up on that. I knew when they were on that ship, I knew something was up, and it was just the way he was like, "Oh, I think your child probably wants to watch the feeding of this." I'm like, all right, he's gonna push them in these fucking pits. I'm not, I knew that was coming. And I'm like, this motherfucker is going to try to kill the baby.
And don't play with your food.
Yeah, anything I guess you heard me. I love stuff with stormtroopers. I'm a massive Empire fan. I mean, if you can't tell from my background, I mean, I got Darth Vader everywhere. I got a hat with an Empire logo, which, I'm a huge fan of the dark side. Always have been, as is the red in this. I did too. It wasn't my favorite either, but Chapter 10 or Episode 2 wasn't bad at all. It wasn't a filler episode. It had just a good amount of action. The whole the spider creatures, whatever they were called, the callbacks to the movie Alien, which were referenced again in this chapter too. There was a lot of references to Alien. I like that when when they're on the ship and that thing crawls, and that's actually the background too, like the vision of the spider or whatever it was. Yeah. So all the baby Yoda's in his eye, or the child in his eye, and then he grabbed it last minute, crushed it, and then gave it to him to eat.
I like that.
But yeah, there was a couple of callbacks to Alien again in this episode too. So I don't know what's up with the Alien references. It's been, but I enjoy them. I actually thought about doing that. I thought about doing a video of what I have behind me. Because the only thing is, so with this new setup, since I've gotten this new desk, I have it a little further flush towards the corner. I had it at one point all the way to the wall, but I have it where, so the way it's set up, it's an L-shaped desk. So if I have it too close, it takes up the whole room and then I can't get to my dresser. It's just, it works where it is. But the thing that I lose, if you go back to my older videos, the other table I was using, I was like literally right there. So you can see the pops a little bit better. You can see some of the action figures I got a little bit clearer. But now that I'm a little further away, you can't see that. I mean, you can obviously see Vader over my my left shoulder, but on screen it's right. And you can see the other Vaders, especially the helmet with the Empire hat. But I thought about doing that. I thought about doing like a little video of what do I have in the background. Because I actually got some new additions. Nothing Star Wars related, but I got a couple of I'm crazy because I'm running out of room. But I got a couple of Back to Future figures that are really cool, which, you know, I found on either Walmart or Target or Amazon. But I'm trying to get like this little collection thing going. Are they needed? No. They're just a guilty pleasure of mine. I like to collect things. I keep them in the box. And
but did you get your Chewbacca Barbie yet?
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would get that. But I do want that thing that you showed me, and I told you.
Oh my God, I'm getting that.
Yeah. So there's a Funko Pop that was announced with the child and that canister with the eggs that he was eating in Chapter 9, and but it's up for pre-order and it doesn't get released until the New Year's Eve. So, you know, I mean, it's going to come out after the series is over. So it's a little bit of a bummer that's not coming out until December 31st, but I'll wait. I'll wait till next year to get it. Yeah. Because those pops are usually like $9 or $10. They're not really that expensive. Unless you get one of the bigger ones. I just got a Thanos for like $20. But it's big. It's a big Thanos one. But anyway. Yeah, so look, I'm really looking forward to next week. And Starspeed, I think you were off when I had said this, but I would anticipate, as which any fan should, I anticipate next episode to be a filler. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm probably still going to love it because I don't hate any episode, even from last season as well. But I think next week is probably going to be a filler, and I think the week after is where we're going to find out more about Ahsoka. With Dave Filoni directing that episode. I don't know who's the director for next week's episode, but we're gonna wait and see. But I really think it's gonna be a good thing. Now, I do want to do one other thing that I wasn't able to do, that I forgot to do yesterday. So hold on one second, bear with me. Can you? Hopefully, someone answers my text. But yesterday was my dog, Anakin, which I named obviously after Star Wars because I'm a huge Darth Vader fan. I'm a huge Anakin Skywalker fan. He is and always will be the chosen one. I don't care what the sequel trilogy says. So I got my dog almost 5 years ago, and my dog Anakin turned 5 yesterday. So I wanted to bring him on my stream yesterday. I did a little sports stream, talked about the New York Mets. I didn't get a chance to do that. But because I'm doing a Star Wars show and because I missed out yesterday, I do want to kind of bring him on. But really quick, what did Starspeed say? Dude, I love Back to the Future and all 80s movies and stuff, and I understand your yeah, and that's the thing. I'm running out of room. I don't even have any room to put these Star Wars figures. I ran out of room. So is she gonna bring him in? I hope she brings him in. We'll see. Wait and see, and then we're gonna wrap up. But is there anything you're looking forward to? Is there anything you want to see, or like, especially after reading some of the backstory and the lore behind Bo-Katan's character and the Death Watch and whatever? Is there anything that you are or want to see besides Ahsoka Tano?
That's what I want to see. Like, that's just my.
You just want to see Rosario Dawson.
I just want to see Rosario
in full Ahsoka gear.
In full Ahsoka gear. That's what I've been hyped up about. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see it so bad. Like, I just want to see what they do with that character.
I do too.
Rosario Dawson.
Well, I also want to see a Jedi. You know, look,
I do too. I really
do. I know Star Wars. Look, I know people complain. Some people complain. Well, Star Wars isn't only about Jedi. Look, yes, it is. It's not only about Jedi, but I want to see fucking Jedi. I want to see. Look, and I know they're at a time where there are like literally no Jedi left. In fact, before this character was created, the only Jedi that were left was Luke. That's it, because Yoda was dead by then. Obi-Wan is dead by now. So the only character that we knew of was Luke Skywalker. You know, he was the Jedi. He was Return of the Jedi. He was the Jedi. But now that we do have a character like Ahsoka, and we probably, I'm not, to say that there were no Jedi at all in the galaxy is ridiculous. Obviously, there were other Jedi, but the only one that we knew of was Luke at that point. And I'm talking about, obviously, back in the 80s. But, you know, to have this character now, we're going to get introduced to her soon. It's going to be fun. And like I said, and for her history and for her to know what the child actually is, we might actually finally find out. Because I don't know if you know this, but Yoda himself, his species is unspecified. We don't even know.
Right.
So maybe we'll learn more about his origins as well.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, I'm so incredibly hyped to see Ahsoka. And again, everybody is. And next week's episode might be really good. But if we don't get Ahsoka, which I know we're not, and anything else, people are going to be bummed out. Just like they were for Chapter 10 because, you know, you teased Tamora Johnson, you teased Boba Fett, and there was no payoff in the next episode. But what do you want? What do you want? Why isn't she answering me? All right, you know what? I'm going to physically go get him. I will be right back, guys. I promise. Be back. All right.
No.
Okay.
Poppers.
All right. Annie, my Baba. You my Baba? I love you. This is my Anakin. Let me move the microphone so you can see him. This is my Annie. He turned 5 yesterday, right? And I love him. My boy. Go ahead, growl. Say something for everybody. Say something.
Aw, hello, puppers.
I don't know if he can hear you, but yeah. Well, this little guy turned 5 years old, and he is Anakin Joseph Skywalker. That is his full name. He's my Baba. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. I love him. So, yeah, I didn't get a chance to put him on the show yesterday, which I regretted. So today I wanted to take a quick opportunity to introduce him to the YouTube world, to you guys, wish him another happy birthday, and that is it. But hold on, I missed one thing. And also, most of the scenes in the trailer for this season we have already seen so far, which is true. So I think they limited, which is good. The only thing that we have, and I think is going to happen in the, I don't know if you guys can hear me well. I think the only thing, I think what we're going to get in next week's episode, and I told you, Kitty, I told you this too. I think next week's episode is going to be the scenes that we saw in the trailer with Cara Dune's character and what's called. It's escaping me what Carl Weathers' character's name, but I think that's the scene we're going to see in next week's episode with Cara and Carl Weathers' character, with even possibly the blue alien from the first episode that he put in Carbonite. Because that's in the trailer where they're in the spaceship together. So who knows? But yeah, they did limit the trailer scenes to the very first few episodes, which is good. Mm-hmm. So that means there's going to be a lot of things we're surprised on. I mean, look, Bo-Katan was a surprise, and that was in this episode. So
yeah, I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't show that in the trailer. Like that was.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And they know they would have been dumb to do that.
Yeah,
you don't want to do that. But well, look, it's a wait and see. We'll see what happens. Again, I love this episode, and I know if I was a fan of the animated series and if I knew more about it, I probably would have jizzed in my pants. I would have been like, oh my God, you know? I mean, it was a big payoff. And if I enjoyed it as much as I did, and if this is one of my favorite episodes, I can only imagine, again, the payoff it was for the people that do watch the animated series. So again, I really think this episode was done really well. And, you know, again, kudos to Bryce, because she did a really good job.
She did a really great job, yeah.
I will say the one part of her directed episode from last season that I completely loved, and it was a huge callback to Jurassic Park, and I think we talked about this on another episode, was when the that walker that was shooting at the village, like when it first wakes up and he's in the forest and the walker's eyes are all red glowing, it looked like a dinosaur. And it moved kind of like a dinosaur as well, because that's what walkers do. And I thought that was a really good callback to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts in that episode. But
yeah.
All right.
I'm just shocked, because I was like, that's when we got introduced to Cara Dune. I was like, that's one of the better episodes too of that season. So.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, me and Anakin are going to say goodbye. Starspeed, thank you for coming on and talking with us as always. Obviously, we look forward to next week's episode. And then next week, I believe we'll be on Sunday to talk about Chapter 12. So look for us on Sunday, probably around this time. I would say like noon. Sunday at noon. So Sunday, next week, we got to do Sunday. We're just going to be jumbling some days because of Kitty's schedule. And then at one point, when she gets back to her regular schedule, we'll just do solely on Saturdays. But so for now, on Sunday for next week, we're going to be 12 o'clock. So tune in for that. But it's been another episode of Galactic Gossip for Chapter 11 spoiler review and reaction. And I will see you guys next week, and enjoy your weekend, guys.
Bye, guys.
May the Force be with you. And Starspeed, thanks again.